Let's do this computer. Okay, so hello everyone. This is January 27 meeting. We just discovered that Ice Age, Ice Rink really is down. And the first time we've wanted to use it since back in the fall sometime. The frustrating thing is that it was up earlier this week and has come down since then. So we're not sure what's going on. We're going to talk about SSH today. And I was just about to tell the team what some of the problems are with that. And they are, off the top of my head, that I can't just set up an SSH server at first and have people connect to it to demonstrate different settings or anything like that. They also won't be able to connect to each other's servers, so we won't be able to do any partnering kinds of things. And then I was saying I didn't know how many people were running Windows versus how many were running Linux, and I was going to do a roll call on that. And I'm not actually sure who the Aldersons and Edwardsons are. One of them is, I don't know. So Alder Edwardson, would you mind identifying yourself, or at least speaking, so we can identify you and tell us which operating system you're running today?
Hi there, I'm Alder Edwardson, and today I'm running Windows.
Okay, cool. That gives me a clue who Edward Alderson might be. Is that you, Dan? Or not?
Edward Alderson is me,
Ah, okay.
and
Uh,
I am running Arch Linux.
okay. Um, Askell. That's very confusing, and it feels funny to say that. Um, what are you running today?
I'm running Debian right now.
Okay, cool. Professor Brainstorm, how about you?
I'm running Windows.
Okay. And Tristan, you're on mute.
All right.
Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself.
I can
Um,
relate.
and I'm running Windows with WSL installed. So,
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, and I should ask you, Professor, and I love Professor Brainstorm. But Josh, do you have WSL installed? Do you even know what we're talking about?
Not currently on this computer, no.
Okay. Is it a computer you can install it on?
Yeah, yeah.
If you have the bandwidth for it and everything to sneak an Ubuntu instance on there, installing SSHD on WSL has some gotchas that I don't remember, but that might be where we are. Or better yet, hang on, I should ask you guys this first. Do you happen to have something like a virtual box or something like that installed that gives you a whole VM, or Docker or anything like that? Josh or Tristan, I'm asking.
I do not know.
Okay.
I do not. However, I can totally download it real fast. So,
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking of the best way. We'll try WSL. It's just going to be. I want it to be on Ice Age. We'd be able to see each other's IPs, and we'd be able to do the same instructions, right? But I've got an idea how to move forward. Let's stick with WSL. On WSL, you'll at least be able to SSH to your own server. That always works. And that'll get most of the points across. I think all the security configs will still work and be able to be demonstrated the way we intend. So let's, Josh, if you can get WSL installed and just let us know if you can't. Let's go with plan B being, oh gosh, we'll try to install it on Windows. It exists for Windows, it's supported and everything. There's an oh gosh fact. We'll come up with a plan B if we need to. Okay. The trick
real
with
fast. Real
Yeah.
fast. I'm currently going to install VirtualBox because I should have it on my machine anyway. So,
Mhm.
I may drop off as it does drop down your network interfaces to install the VirtualBox
Right.
only one. So
Okay. That'll
if I
that'll
do
just be a
drop
blip
down, I'll
though.
just rejoin.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So I'm having to replan in my mind here. Now, is Dan available? I know he wanted to talk about some things at the beginning of the meeting, but I also know he's been sick this week. So,
Yeah, he's been pretty sick recently. I if I had to guess, he's currently asleep.
okay, that's fine. If he comes around and he wants some time, we can do that. If he doesn't, that's fine. We can do it next week. I'll I'll let's ask this question then. Obviously, unless you got to the homework like probably the same day or the next day as when I posted it, it was impossible to do the homework, right? So, how how many of you tried though, and which day did you try on? Can we do that? Um, just for my own information. And
I tried it yesterday.
okay,
Same.
thank you.
Me
Same.
Yeah,
too.
yesterday.
Yesterday. Um, I think that was everybody but Tristan. And Tristan, did you just blip off for a minute?
No,
Or do
no,
you?
actually,
Okay.
surprisingly,
Okay.
the network interfaces went down and back up fast enough that it didn't actually matter all that much. But I completely forgot about it and did not do it.
Okay. Okay. We talked last week about how we need to know that people have Zulip installed on a device that will, whether that's a laptop or a phone or your phone, where you'll have this setting so that if somebody posts, you'll see the notification. Um, and so that's one thing. Axel posted a, 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 um, a photo, what's it, screenshot walkthrough of how to set the app settings on a phone so that it will always notify you if that's your main interface for Zulip. But Zulip's our official communication hub, and that's the one people need to see. Email is just for urgencies, right? And I should have been pushing for that earlier, but if you miss an announcement, if you don't see that there's homework, that's on you. If you saw it and forgot about it, um, you have to figure that out, right? But especially as you remember from last year how the communication gets a little more um, agile and important as we get to the closer to competition, right? Where somebody says, no, 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 I found out we can't do it that way at all. Stop, stop, stop. And if you don't see it, you keep going for 10 hours trying to do the thing that doesn't work, right? So just kind of an FYI there. And what Dan's going to talk about, it looks like probably next week, he's going to take 10 minutes and just kind of talk the team through, um, asking the team, how much time do you have every week so that the team can know um, how much time each person has to commit, as we're moving forward. And so it's not about me or Dan telling people, we need this much time, but for us to know how much time everybody has available and is willing to say, this is like the minimum I can commit each time. I'm putting words in Dan's mouth. I don't know if that's how he's going to do it, but just to help us plan homework so that I can say, okay, this week here's the minimum piece. Please do this. Then if you have more time, here are some things you can choose from or do this next or something like that. So does that make sense, Tristan?
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, trying to work around Ice Age being unavailable in my head. So, oh, and I can't go. Let's see. think I know I've got Docker, but I think I have VirtualBox installed. Now the question is, it used to be that Windows wouldn't let you run virtualization in, so like, you wouldn't be able to run like Docker and VirtualBox on the same box because Docker, the recommended way to run Docker is to use WSL2 for virtualization, and that wouldn't let VirtualBox run. It was a beautiful example of two tech giants cooperating with each other. But I think they might have fixed this up. So let me see here. Hey, look at that. And look how small it is. Is that too big? Or is it okay? The font?
Fine to me.
Okay,
It's fine for me.
cool. So what I'm gonna do is system cuddle status SSH. Oh, it is there. Okay. And it's running. It's robust. So I'm gonna uninstall this real quick. After I better whenever oh my keyboard is laggy in here. Wonder what I can shut off. But whenever you use apt, especially if it's been, in the case of this particular VM, maybe it's been half a year, I don't know. But you should run sudo apt update. Look at what my keyboard's doing to me. Oh, there's no T in there. Hopefully I got my whole password. Okay, we'll go slower. And now our Google device in the kitchen thinks I asked it to define the word slow. Okay. So now we're going to ask it to, that's really frustrating. Why would this be happening? Trying to think if there's any big services running. Can't think of any others on here. Well, Docker. I'm apt. Okay, so I'm going to say sudo apt remove. And which one's going to take them all out? I'll do, let's see, open SSH-server. I'll get both of these, open SSH-client. And I'll say please on here so that it won't ask me.
I suggest you use purge instead of remove.
No, I don't want to use purge instead of remove. Actually, I think I know why this is happening, but I can't find some other process is running 66893. It's that one. It's just gonna keep going. My automatic updates are running like you would want them to. Is it just that window? Oh, let's see here, PS, full PID 67384. This is not going to work. What's happening right now? Figure that out after this here. I'm going to reboot this instance. It's like, no, you're not. Well, that's happening. I don't think this is going to have to do with CPU, but I'll take a look. It's affecting my whole instance. It's not just affecting that VM. My whole. I'm so used to being on virtual machines. I just called my laptop an instance. It's affecting my whole laptop. Oh, I'd made a change here yesterday when I was diagnosing something. I told it to pull at normal speed, which, Task Manager can be a glutton. I don't think that's the problem, but it can't hurt. Set it back to low polling. All right. Obviously, idle process on mine is always fine, but I don't see anything weird. That's the window manager, that's VirtualBox, that's Zoom. You would expect them to be doing something. And come on. Have anything doing a mess with power other than the ones we expect? We got very high on Task Manager, VirtualBox, and the window manager. The window manager is kind of weird to see there. Current usage is just the window manager. Interesting. Why the window manager? And that would definitely affect things like my ability to type. So, unattended upgrade in progress. Yay.
Well, would you just be able to use the on-screen keyboard in there and then test it like that?
Well, I could use the on-screen keyboard, but that's not going to be faster. It could be more accurate, but I'm going to have to do mouse clicks, right? So
True.
here, let me where's my mouse? Where's my mouse? It's jumping. Yay. Please don't turn off the computer. Well, that's what I'm gonna do. Oh wait. Haha, scared it. If this doesn't help out, I'm going to go ahead and reboot the laptop and then rejoin. Because the window manager is always active, but it's weird. I don't see this very often where it's consuming so much power. The whole power management thing seems a little off. Oh, let me look at one other thing. Okay, that's barely okay. This is not okay. By the way, you get it's measuring different things. You'll see, like here it says 51%, but if I go over to the details page, it'll say, no, it's only 5%. I know why. I had ChatGPT explain this to me. This means that we're only using 4 or 5% of the time available if the processors were going as fast as possible. But this one over here means that, sorry, This one means that given how fast the processors are going, which is a little faster than their stated speed, right? But it's not as fast as they can go. Given that speed, we're using 44% of the capacity that they're offering us, but that's very high for this computer. This is working though. Typing just worked, so that was better.
Sweet.
Pretty slow though. Yeah, oh great, I have to update the additions. Hey, look. Okay. We better hurry up so that it doesn't take the token again. Sudo apt remove open SSH server and open SSH client. And I will purge it. Why not? The only difference between purge and hang on. Between purge and remove is that purge will get rid of the config files, any changes you made since you installed.
Yeah, which in this case we do want to be using purge.
Yeah, it would have been a nice booster for us. See my old config, right? Errors were in kind of processing snapd. Well, too bad. Let's see if we got rid of SSH client. Hey, that's good. And hey, okay, we're good. So my mouse is really dry. Hang on a sec. Nothing like wintertime in Iowa when you've had half your sinuses removed. There's nothing to moisturize them.
True.
Not half.
Except that
half.
I was in Florida for the winter in Iowa, so I didn't
Yeah.
actually have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so looking back at Zulip, that's Zoom. I want Zulip. Something blue with a Z on it. It's really not fair. Hey, we've got a dot in Discord. Somebody's taking a look. Excellent. Okay. So looking back here, just want to look at the stuff, the things we mentioned in the homework notes. Make sure you can connect to VirtualBox, I guess. Make sure you got a relatively clean Ubuntu, and make sure that it has packages for open server, open SSH server and client. And then I said, well, if you run these commands, open sudo apt install those guys. So we're starting right there. That's the idea. And now that I'm looking at it, if you do have VirtualBox and you put Ubuntu in it, that's a good way to start. But in terms of getting someplace quickly, WSL is gonna install itself. And if you do, and I'm thinking of you, Josh, if you put in VirtualBox, you're gonna have to download the Ubuntu ISO and mount it, and then go through the installers. So it is gonna take more time. So I'm still kind of thinking WSL might be the better way to try. But I hope I've got the clipboard sharing. Oh, good. So if you do this, it's just going to install these guys for you. And shouldn't take too long. Of course, it depends more than anything on your connection speed and your processing speed and all of that. This guy, I mentioned him in our in one of our meetings, ED 25519. Remember I pulled that, it's called a generator and a prime, the G and the P in Diffie-Hellman. I pulled that from an RFC. You know, I got key set 15 or something like that. And you see that it says that it's creating SSH ED 25519 key, this elliptical curve. Maybe it's elliptical, something else. But this is a reference to a specific published key that is used in an algorithm. So you could go and look up what this key set is. They're not mentioning any other specific ones, I don't think. But you know, that's another key set for elliptical cryptography, which, you know, don't ask me why it's called elliptical or any of that. But yeah, so that's another published key set you could look up.
Well, isn't that kind of insecure? Because if you
No,
post like in the terminal, like a published key set that you are using for any kind of anything, that makes it a little bit easier, especially if it's
no,
SSH.
no, it's the input, it's the seed. So like when I showed my algorithm or my implementation of Diffie-Hellman, I did the same thing in the kind of quote unquote production version. I can pull this up.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Remember the really long 8192 byte string that I put in there, and then the number 2 for the generator? And the characteristics of a good set of keys to use as the starting point in the algorithm are that you can use that generator in the algorithm along with that, and for Diffie-Hellman, that prime number, and that they will randomly, when plugged into the algorithm, produce pretty much any number up to that prime as output. And it'll come out like in a uniform distribution. It's really hard to pick a key that'll do that, so they publish ones that do. And
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, and so if you pick one that some really brainy crypto people haven't verified, yeah, this is a good one, you'll make a bad one, and people will be able to exploit it because they'll see patterns in it and stuff. No, not
That
now.
makes sense.
It surprised me too. It's counterintuitive, but it's I think of it now that I'm past the surprise. I was like, well, why is this true? And I thought, well, it's part of don't write your own crypto. Is don't think you can pick good keys.
True.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But you can see that they use this to generate their own key. They create an ED 25519 key based on the published 25519 standard set, and they use that. And there's probably, I don't know if there's multiple key sets. Like for Diffie-Hellman, there's different sets of keys you can use, and maybe within this ED 25519 there are multiple choices. I don't know, but OpenSS, sorry, what is this software? apt creating config. So apt and OpenSSH are open source anyway, right? So the only way you wouldn't know what it's doing would be if there are multiple key sets here, they might generate a random something to pick one of them, right? But the idea is that the published keys are really hard to fight against. I have a friend who went to grad school at University of Michigan, and I followed what he was doing for a while, and it's amazing the things that they can see these little patterns in, and then like drive a truck through it eventually and say, yeah, we figured out what their key was, or we had this, we figured out a way to guess the next number that the prime generator was going to generate with a 5% likelihood. And if they can do that, I mean, think about it, right? So yeah, that's not very random. So anyway, good question. It just really surprised me too. And take it with a grain of salt. I haven't looked at the ED 25519s but I'm assuming it's like Diffie-Hellman where they actually say, here's a 2048 byte key, here's a 4096, here's an 8192, here's a, and they just kind of kept giving us longer ones as the hardware got better. Right. So now I would imagine I would imagine they turned this on. They did. And so I have a question that I don't think I've leaned on this as much this year yet as I did last year and most years. But we want to see the configuration for this service. Where do we look?
Etsy.
Someplace in Etsy is a good place to start. You can also do things like this, apt show. You'd probably have to look this up at this point, but I think it's show OpenSSH server. No, maybe it's apt file. Let's see really quickly. There's an apt command that will show you exactly the files that each package provides, or it might be a dpackage command, but there's a command you can use.
I think it's called app-file, but you need to install it.
Yeah, and app-file is just the man name for it. It's app space file. Maybe you can call it as app-file, but like we know that there's this command like apt search, right? But if you want, I'm pretty sure if you want help on it directly, you have to say, oh, so they do have, okay. But you can say apt file like this, and it says invalid operation, but it doesn't say that there's no command that works that way. Oh, look at that. Is it apt-file? I stand corrected, I believe. But you will see this like in get commands. You'll have to look up help for get dash status when the command is actually get space status. And so that's a pattern. I thought I saw it here. I see the pattern, but I was wrong. But so get apt file list. So apt file list SSH. Sorry, OpenSSH server. Give it some more room to work with. Come on. That's weird. I maximized the window and I lost the text. There we go. So this is not the output I'm thinking of. There's actually a built-in an apt or dpackage, dpkg dpackage. But this is a good way. Like I forgot who said it, but sorry about that. But you do have to install apt file, and then I think you have to run something like apt file update or something to get the contents. But it will show you exactly what's installed. And so, and that app file update, I think, is just the first time, because obviously we just installed this and it knows about it. But you can see where the configs are. You can see that it at least made a rule available to the uncomplicated firewall, UFW. You can see where the libraries are. And whatever else. There's the actual executable SSHD, and there's the man pages and so on and so forth. So, rather than guess, we can actually look here and see that there are things in Etsy. But I don't usually do this. The first thing I do is go and look in Etsy, and if I can't find it there, then I go and ask something, because about half the time the things in Etsy, especially with a well-established service like this, but there are others like I was going to say Apache, but that's wrong. They put stuff in Etsy. There are others that don't, but let's go ahead and look in here. Hold it. Oh, here. So I thought there would be an SSHD. Oh, that color is awful. It's really hard to see. for me, and I don't know what it looks like to you guys, but for me, that blue text on that eggplant background, not cool. At this point, I'd be looking for something that said profiles. What's that going to look like? That didn't work. Oh, really? Clearly, I don't know how to use a computer. Full screen, read only, advanced. Nope. So this changed the theme of the of the preferences box. Am I missing something to change the theme of the actual terminal? I'm pretty darn sure you can do it.
Profiles.
Yeah, when I looked at that, here, let's look again. Tell me if you see something. Under preferences, right?
Yep.
And when I did this, it just asked me what I wanted to call my new profile.
You need to make a profile, yes.
And then it'll give me more options.
It'll give you the options for colors, fonts.
Oh, look at this. Okay. And then is there a nice,
Down under palette, you can choose a built-in theme. It's near the bottom.
yep. Oh, there we go. I don't want solarized. It doesn't preview them though.
No, you have to exit to show the theme.
Tango. I don't like solarized. Xterm is probably highly visible and a little obnoxious.
Think TTY colors.
Yeah. Gnome might be okay. We'll just try a couple here. Oh, this is not. Do I have to?
That's the same
Okay.
theme you had before.
Oh, I thought that. My bad. Uh, let's just do this. Do I have to? So, oh, wait. I bet. Huh. Maybe if I start over, I give up. Okay. I probably want to be root here. I know there's other things I could do, like tell LS not to show color, stuff like that. That's really bad. Did Axel or anybody, did I do themes wrong?
Yeah, it looked right
Hold
to
on,
me.
let me try to get that working on my side and I can help you with that.
Okay, thank you. It says this is my theme. You can even go in and request, oh, I want one with the Chris theme, and it still looks the same. But that does give me at least some hope there. So if I go in and go back to Chris being X term, and I know Solarized has a black background, I think, and nice muted colors, but that one's different. It's still not great. So, okay, at least we know how to do this now. I need to be able to read those. I literally can't read those directory names, so I apologize for the delay. What's Linux console look like? Oh, look, I don't have to use those.
Oh yeah, it's working for you now.
Yeah, it was, well, I got rid of the thing that used the colors on the bottom, but that one doesn't look as terrible. I can read that. Thank you for waiting. I realized you had no choice whatsoever. Uh, but thank you for not threatening to storm the castle.
Is that light mode?
It's it's one of the light modes. Let me see.
It's melting my eyes.
Sorry.
I'm,
You got
I'm
a
mostly being sarcastic. I don't care.
you got a brightness mode. You got a brightness button. Hang on, I'm trying to get rid of my zoom controls at this point. There they go. Yeah, light mode is this decade. We hate light mode. Just wait 8 years. We'll be fine. Okay, what were we doing? First of all, this restored window is larger than my screen. You gotta like that. Is it? I guess it's maximized. Full screen. There we go. Now it knows what's going on. Okay, so let's see what we have here. That starts with Etsy for directories. Oh, I'm not in. Oh, sorry. See what we have here that starts with SSH. That might be better. And we just got the one SSH. So come in here. And anybody remember the name of the file we're looking for? That's just a pop quiz, and it's unfair to people who haven't done this before.
SSHD_config.
Close.
Oh, .d.
Yeah. But yeah, SSH. I remembered it wrong. I thought it was sshd.config. So yeah, and that's all. I don't see any other directories in here or anything like that. So let's look at those two blue files. Oh no, I'm
Wait,
sorry. The
hold
two
on.
files, those are directories. I just didn't put it out here the way I'm used to.
Chris, you were actually kind of right because the config files themselves are SSH_config and then SSHD_config. I don't know what the .d files are.
Yeah, so
directories.
Those are places you can put other config files probably. So you were right. It's SSHD_config. So let's look at, and let's just view. View is a shortcut or an alias or something to running Vim or VI with a -r parameter for read only. I can't break it. So let's look at SSH _config. We'll get one file and then the other. This is SSH config. You can see down in the bottom left. So this is for the client. And this is what I was talking about, Tristan. It just includes any config files you put in this folder, sshconfig.d. And then
okay, that makes sense.
The config files are nice. They put all these settings in here. Down at the bottom, they've got 3 of them that are not canceled out. But then they show you lots of other ones that are commented out at. Did I say canceled out? And so you can kind of see what they all are. You know, that's interesting. We're not going to focus as much on the client this time, but that's where they are, all these settings. I don't know if that list is exhaustive. You would hope it might be, but I don't know. We'll get into that. I'm going to do :N for show me the next file that I asked for. And then this is the server file. They do the same sort of thing. They have an include line and then a bunch of settings. They do have some section headers, okay? So if there's a pound and a space, that means this is a section. So this is a section on ciphers and keying. This is a section on logging, and so on. I'm going to hit Control F, so it's going to do a whole page this time. Don't let that confuse you. It's forward one page. And you can see that there are a lot more settings here than there are in the client file, right? And yeah, that's the next page. So there's about 2.5 pages of settings here. And I think I know I've said it, I hope you heard it. There's this running joke for the Oracle database that there are literally, some 2,000 or whatever settings, and the job is high paying because you need people that know which 1,997 to leave alone at each site and which 3 to pick for each site that that should be modified to make it work for that particular, installation. And here it's the same thing. We're not going to want to use all of these, right? But we're going to want to use some of them. And the question is, which ones do we want to use, right? So
there is actually a web found that gives you that basically gives a description of every single option in SSH config and SSHD config. I can post them in the Zulip chat.
Yeah, and I actually have something I want y'all to do, and that's a good transition. What I would like you to do, how do I get out of, oh great, it's been so long since I used is the hover thing down there? Good. So long since I used VirtualBox, I couldn't remember how to get out of full screen. So let me pop this open, because of course I use VS Code for everything. What I want you to do is find 2, not 1. Let me get rid of Control J. Get rid of that down there. Find 2 pages on the web that go over best practices for SSHD configuration. And then 2, pick between, I don't know, let me think about this. Pick the 5 settings you think are most important. And I'm going to put 5 in quotes because I'm going to say, if you think there's more than 5, make an argument for it. What I'm saying is pick the ones that are most important, but the target, let's say, is someplace around 5. And I want each of you guys to do this. If you have trouble finding a good page, I've got a couple that I could share with you. And I would like you to take I don't know, it's 10:58 now. Do you guys want 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes?
8.
8 minutes.
I can probably find some pretty quick, but it's then finding the quote unquote 5 settings that are actually like the most important that are going to be the problem.
Yeah, that's going to take the most time by far. So I would think 10, and it could take 15. If you don't get to 5, but it's okay. We're not going to take your card away. We're not going to confiscate any licenses here. Sorry. But like people, I'm thinking of first year folks especially. Um, I know Henry's got a couple security certifications, but I'm thinking so I know you've been through stuff like this, and you must have been through things like this in the past.
Oh yeah.
But I'm thinking, Josh and Axel, do you think this is like a 10-minute thing? Do you?
10 minutes or so seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. And the idea is to get to where you can, just read through the options, and I think, yeah, after I'll set a couple timers here, one for the 10 minutes and one for like 3 minutes for me to check and make sure you've all found, at least one page you're happy with. Are we done? Yes. Are we done? No, we're not done. So that's good. I'll let you get going. I'll stay on, so if you have questions or whatever, that's cool. Oh, that's 10 hours. I don't know, and I didn't start it. There we- Okay, the first alarm went off. Have people found good lists or pages to work with? Would you like me to post the couple that I found?
I've yeah,
I've
I've found
yeah.
some, so I would say I'm good.
I found one, but I was trying to figure out how to actually do one of the things it said.
That's okay. We can talk about how to do them. We're looking for what you think the important ones are. So,
I found some.
okay. That's 3 people so far.
I've got one.
All right. That's 4. My short-term memory is failing me. So, and I can't find Zoom, of course. There are 7 of us. Oh, we have. So who didn't answer? Or did everybody answer and I just missed it?
No, I think we're short
I
one.
did not answer.
Yeah. Welcome, Dan. I saw you were here. So I think, Josh, you answered, right? Or not?
Josh is gone.
I think he is. He's
I'm back.
okay. Did you find some pages about SSH to work from, or would you like me to post mine, or what?
I found a few things.
Okay. If you want me to post mine, I can. I mean, it's up to you.
Let me look here.
I'm not going to post my answers, just posting pages that I saw that were reasonable. I'll tell you what, I'll put the URLs of the pages I found or that I saved in Slack on that homework thread. And if
Okay.
anybody, don't let it distract you if
Since
you've
when
got
do we
good
have
sources.
Slack?
Yeah, Slack, ZULIP Slack. Um, made me smile. Right. I think my other timer just went off. I'm pretty sure about it, actually. Anybody want a bit more time, or are you good to go?
I'm good.
I've got 4.
Okay. 4 is a pretty good number.
I've also got 4.
Let me actually finish what I'm posting in our channel. Trying to give descriptive links.
Okay, sorry there. My laptop crashed.
Ooh, lovely.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So on the computer I'm currently using, there's like multiple users and accounts. Like, what would happen when I download this onto the computer? I'm not sure how that would work.
You mean if you install WSL?
Yeah.
Well, with WSL, it's a system level thing, I would think. So it'd probably make it available to everybody. But the Ubuntu instance or whatever that you install will only be available to that account,
Okay.
and nobody else will have any Linux instances available unless they install one.
Okay.
Okay, let me grab the share again. Does anybody know in Zulip when you put in these markdown formatted links where it's the title of the link in square brackets and then the URL in round brackets? Is there a way to tell Zulip not to include a preview like this?
No, it's just a regular embed. That's how it does things.
Yeah, it previewed 2 of them and not the third one. I fear for my life if I ever post a list of like 12 links, it just kind of muddies the waters, but okay. But I've got 3 of them, and do I want to mention these now? I'm going to mention one thing here, and then we'll just do your stuff, what you've come up with. The one thing I want to mention is that Ubuntu has a couple of things available. This first link I mentioned here, I looked for on purpose because it's from Ubuntu and it wasn't suggested on my first searches. And this one, so I searched, I was in Bing, no wonder it might not have worked well. This is a Google style hint site, ubuntu.com. And anyway, it kind of worked. And so this is from Ubuntu's documentation. This is not a man page. This is their kind of walkthrough. Here's how you install OpenSSH client, OpenSSH server. Here's some configuration information. And it's not maybe as detailed as what some of the other sites are, depending on where you went, but it's Ubuntu specific, right? So this might not be the first place you go to, but if you have questions, like some of the stuff you see in Stack Overflow doesn't seem to be working on your instance, you might want to come here and see, well, is there anything in Ubuntu's documentation? There's another site called askubuntu.com, which you may have run into. It gets referenced a lot more on search engines, and that's their community. That's like their internal Stack Overflow, and the quality of answers tends to be pretty good. So I just wanted to mention that. I think my other sources, there we go, are from, this one, Simian Security, might have popped up for some of you also. I got one from ssh.com. So I was trying to find as much as I could really high quality, sources. Although I don't know if ssh.com, I didn't have a lot of time, right? So openssh.org would have been a really good one, but yeah, I was looking. So those are the ones I had. Kind of what I'd like to know, or like to hear from you guys about, is which one of these? There we go. Is what you guys found, and yeah, what your lists are. So who wants to go first and just kind of tell me what you found, what you picked.
I can go ahead and first list off my crap. Oh boy. All right. Where did I put my notes?
That's Tristan, right? I'm having a problem with hearing today. Sorry.
Wow. Chris is getting old.
Chris is 59. I had my birthday a little bit ago. Yeah.
Really? Well, first of all, happy birthday. Second of all,
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm
All right.
older. I'm even older than you thought. Huh?
I mean, hey, I pictured you like your beard looks almost exactly like my old man's. So I don't know. I pictured you were like max 40, 45-ish.
Dude, you're my friend.
All right. But I found multiple best practices. I definitely found in best practices more than five, but out of my most important options,
Uh-huh.
um,
Are
the
these in
first one
order, by the way? Should I put them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is it
oh,
just
really
five?
just a bunch of options.
Okay, cool.
None of them are really like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
I've got disable root user login for obvious reasons. If they really want to log in, then log in as an administrator account in the group administrator, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Disable password login, and then separately enable public key login. Then so you can either use enable public key login, or you can also use a technique called TCP wrappers, which basically like restricts access to a certain program, and in this case SSHD, to a list of IP addresses,
Mm-hmm.
which can accomplish the same thing as public key based encryption. It just uses a different configuration file, but
Okay.
ignore
Cool.
our hosts naturally.
Ignore our hosts, you said? Yep.
Yeah. And then also use port knocking, which would have to be something that would have to be added in a automated process, and would have to be done and configured in the firewall itself.
Mm-hmm.
But that way, only accounts and people that know that there is a port knocking technique
Right.
would be able to access it.
I forgot about that. I remember you were a fan of port knocking last year. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a really cool idea, but I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
found a guide for it. So
Cool.
but that also might be considered illegal for competition because part of their availability tests like require
Oh,
logging in as
yeah,
an
that's
SSH
right.
account.
Yeah,
So
that is true. Unless you figured out what they were testing for and made sure SSH on its own could do that.
exactly.
And not do other stuff. That's okay. That's interesting. That would be hard to set up though. Anyway, port knocking. And
Yeah.
more?
And
You're
well,
at 4 on the board, so
yeah.
you at least get
And
one
then
more.
and then specify one address to listen on because it automatically listens on 0.0.0.0 or all of them. So instead give it like one specific network interface to actually listen on. And then
Hmm.
part of that is also changing the port away from port 22. Which once again sounds really great, but if you put it in a competition environment, that would also kill our service availability tests because they
Hmm.
test it on port 22. So
All right. Well, let's take those 5 for now, and we'll go on to our next brave thespian, or whoever. Why thespian? I don't know.
I
It's a
can go next.
performance, right? Yeah.
I can go next if you'd like.
Yep. Go for it.
All right. Number 1 I have is changing the default port number off of 22. So when I was in California, I wanted to connect back to my desktop. So I opened up port like 52,000 and something, and just open it so I can connect back, which ties into number 2. I have disable password authentication and use public key. Just
Okay.
to make
Yep.
it more secure.
Sure.
Don't allow. It's technically 2 different settings, but it falls in the same category. Disable. Don't allow root users to log in, or don't allow the root user to log in, and or allow only certain users to log in remotely. Not every user, only those that kind of ties in with like a least privilege based
Hmm.
kind of it's a least privilege mentality, right? Only those that really need to log in, just to reduce your attack surface. And the other thing is limit the number of login attempts. It's like one thing I've been playing around with on our home server is like limiting. Like my dad will usually get his password in usually the first try, but sometimes it'll take him a second try. So I've set it to be like no more than 3. If you get 3 wrong attempts, it times you out.
Yeah, there
So
are people at work who think that the whole thing with all the password rules is stupid because if you set it to 3 bad password attempts and then we're gonna freeze your account for half an hour, that all of a sudden it's not worth trying your account. I can't brute force your account if I only get 3 tries.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, those are the 4 that I got. The 5th,
Okay.
if I had to pick a 5th one, it might be I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. There's like plenty of other things you could just like, tighten the screws a little bit. I think those are the major things.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't count them ahead of time. You probably tell when I was typing 5 in quotes. Because I thought we'd be, all on Ice Age and everything. So
Yeah, right.
that's cool. Yep.
All right.
Anybody else? You don't have to be a thespian this time. Anybody can do it. So,
All right. I guess I can go next.
okay.
All right. So I had Reject connections to accounts with no passwords. Um, use SSH keys instead of passwords.
Mhm.
Disable root logins. Uh, and set a limit for password attempts.
All right. Those are good.
Avoiding port 22 is something you can do, but any tool that is created by somebody who knows how security functions, it isn't going to do anything against that.
Put this down as a comment. Uh, hmm. Oops. Is that a good
Yep.
summary? Okay.
Yes.
All right. We're down to Axel and Josh, and Dan, I might have heard you say you were doing this. I wasn't sure because
No,
of
I'm
my,
not.
okay, that's kind of what I expected, but my ears are playing tricks on me today. So Axel and Josh, do you have anything you want to share?
Not at the moment, no.
Josh?
I've got some.
Oh, wait, sorry. I believed what I wrote down. I didn't believe. Okay, go.
Um, so I have disable root SSH. Um, and then changing the port.
Hmm.
Um, not using passwords to log in.
Yep.
Changing the number of login attempts. And finally, disconnecting unauthenticated users.
Could you elaborate on that last one? So I'm thinking unauthenticated users aren't able to log in,
Uh,
right? I
so
might not be
a
understanding. Yeah, go ahead.
so it's this login grace time setting.
Mm-hmm.
It means that the user will be disconnected after XX seconds of not logging in.
Mm-hmm. So that's the setting you're talking about there.
Yes.
I know there's underscores or whatever it is, but I'm used to in Slack at work, um, taking things like, what is it? There's one, I'm trying to think of specific, like fields that look like this, but when I put them in Slack and not everybody's a programmer, I will change it to build, like that. So that's what I'm doing there. I don't know the exact capitalization. Sometimes English is better than code speak. So, all right. Josh, were you able to um, find some stuff to read and at least kind of grok? Well, grok is a word that's like 3 times older than you. Were you able to at least find some good things to read and get some ideas, or did you have any questions or anything that
Um,
you'd like to raise right now?
Yeah, I found a few things, but I don't currently have any questions. No.
Okay, cool. So you can see we've got some recurring themes here, right? We've got disable root user, don't allow root user, disable root logon, disable root SSH. That's on that's on everybody's list, right? So I'm gonna put this down here, common, um, what did I say it? Settings mentioned. That's not quite what I want to say. That's okay. Disable root logon, login. Everybody mentioned that. How about certs? That came up over several times. Disable root login and enable public key login. That's certificates. Oh, Henry, I thought, oh, there it is. Use public key. Michael said use SSH keys. And I don't know if you mentioned it, Axel. Passwords, but you also haven't seen us do it yet. So use certs SSH keys instead of passwords. Came up on 3 of 4. Changing the port was an interesting one because it came up on specify one address, use port knocking, disable. I thought it was on Tristan's, but I don't see it. Port knocking is on Tristan's. But port knocking is I'm going to count that as a form of changing the port. Because, and if you don't know what port knocking, well, because if the port's 22 and then you make it 50, 18, 125, 22, right? Isn't that how port knocking does? You have to hit a series of ports.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, the way that it works, the way I read it was like the port 22 example is going to be closed like until they receive a series of connection attempts from the same IP address on on port like 5 and then 200 and then
right,
5800 and then 10
right.
and then after that port 22 opens
Yeah,
for that connection.
that's what I meant. So you have to hop to different ports, right? So essentially, if I have to start on port 5, you've changed the port. So that's a port. It's a
True.
fancy form of port changing. It's mentioned by Henry. It's mentioned by Axel, but it gets an explicit -1 from Michael. So changing the port, I'm going to have to say gets a +3 -1, just to give everybody a voice there. But it was mentioned repeatedly. I don't know if anybody else mentioned this, specify a single address. Did anybody else mention that? No, limit the number of login attempts. I think that definitely came up more than once. Set a limit for password attempts, changing the number of login attempts. So that was on there 3 times. That came up 3 times. Specify one address. Is there any others you guys see that are repeated?
Oh, did you already?
Users.
Go ahead, Henry first. I think that was Henry.
I kind of said restrict, like I'll only allow like I think Tristan might have said it, or someone else said it.
Allow
Disallow.
certain use,
Oh yeah, certain users.
right? And TCP wrapper, yeah, that's not the same thing though, but it's the same spirit of in terms of being a whitelist of sorts. Did Axel say anything like that? He said disconnecting unauthenticated users. That's kind of a different thing too. So, and Tristan, what were you going to say?
Oh, another one that came up multiple times was the, I'm not sure if you already put it down, but public keys. Keys into, yes, what you did
Yeah,
already
yeah,
put
okay.
down.
Yeah. And I think there are some that are going to get a score of 2 because I'm going to put them on the list. So I'm voting for them. This one, specify one address to listen to. And that's going to be 2, including Chris. Because I want them to get on the comment list here. What's that? I thought I heard somebody. Oh wait, disable password login was on multiple times. Did I put that down here yet? Disable password logins, disable password authentication, use SSH instead of passwords, not using passwords. So that was everybody mentioned that. So did I already put it on there? I did not. Now I get to use this cute keyboard shortcut. Look at that. Okay. Port knocking, port number, disable password auth. Don't allow root login. We got that already. List limit number of login attempts. Reject connections to accounts with no passwords. I think if we're disallowing password auth, that's kind of implicit. Disable root. Set a limit for number of password attempts. We got that one. Disable root. Change the port. No passwords. Disconnecting. Oh, I thought there was something else, but that's a good one. So it's really interesting, right, that we had 5 people put up a total of 23 settings. And if we look at the commonalities, we came out with 5 plus 1 that I forced onto the list. So, that's indicative, right, that there's a strong core of settings here that you want to look at. And they're not hard to find in that settings file either. So let me pop back over here. Should still have this open and nice and bright. This is the scheme. We call this Tristana, this light color scheme here.
I feel targeted.
You feel honored? That's what I heard. SSHD config. All right. So you might say, well, you guys know, you looked them up, right? And you probably had the setting name. So the first thing on our list was disable root login, right? So what's that one called?
Permit root login.
Permit root login. And this is interesting. They have, and I read about this, they have this permit root login, and their example setting says prohibit password. And this is in case you want to allow root to connect like with a cert. I just think that's a bad idea. Well, it's not what we want at this point in time, is it? To allow somebody to connect with a cert, or is it?
Agreed. Bad idea.
Yeah. I can imagine using this if you said root could only log in from local host. But I still think it's a bad idea. I'll tell you what I think is a good idea later. So you set this to, whoops, is the value, what's the value you want me to put in here?
No.
I was assuming that was it, but you've got the docs. You are my eyes at this point. So that's the first one, right? What's the, sorry, Zoom is in my way. I know you don't believe me, but honest, it is. There we go. The second one on our list was, and oh look, Zoom's in my way again. Disable password authentication. What's the setting we want to look at for that one?
Jeez, I do not remember.
I have it listed as password authentication.
Yep, probably this one. By the way, do you guys know the difference between authentication and authorization? Free pop quiz.
Authentication proves you are who you say you are. Authorization is proving that you have the right to be here.
Could you say that again?
Authorization is proving that you are who you say you are. Authorization is proving that somebody externally gave you the right to be here.
The first part's right. The second part, I just might not. The second part might be right. I'm just not sure I follow. So authentication can be thought of real similarly to a login. It's you walking up to the counter and showing your passport. This is me. So when you log on to a server, you're authenticating. When you say, I want to edit this SSHD config file, you need the authority to do that. And so in the background, it checks your permissions and authorizes you to do that. So authorization is, do you have the right to do the activity you're trying to do in the operating system or whatever it is you're trying to do? So authentication, yeah, is who am I? Am I who I, please log me in. Here's my credentials, my password, and my certificate, whatever. And authorization is, I want to do activity X. Please verify that I can do that. It's helpful to know that, because there are some environments like a database server is definitely one of them, where they get used in tight space, same paragraphs back and forth all the time. But yeah, so we found that password authentication, no. Easy peasy. I should put this back to full screen so it's easier to switch away from. There we go. Next one. Wrong one. Next one was use search and SSH keys instead of passwords. Let's not set that one just yet because we don't have the certs. Change the port. Sounds like we're going to have a little bit of debate on that one, so let's just leave that one for a sec. But I think we all agree that limiting the number of login attempts is a good idea. Can anybody find the setting name for that?
Max auth tries.
Up right
It's
under
Pascal
current root
case.
login. Yeah.
What was that? Oh, it didn't wrap. How about this? There we go. Max auth tries 6. How many would you like me to have on this server?
42.
2.
5,856.
Well, if I average 42 and
I vouch
2,
for Michael's answer.
42 in 42 in well, the base would have to be at least 5. That's still 22. So 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So the average of those two is 4. Not R. Well, that's interesting. We should undo what I just did. There we go. That's what we wanted. 42 would be fun to, everybody would have so much fun just trying to get to that number. Oh, I got locked out. Guys, look. Okay. And the last one, specify one address to listen to rather than all, and change the, oh, and change the port. I don't actually care about that bit. Sorry. So where is that one? I think what's it called? Is this thing still on? Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Okay. Got really quiet there. I thought when I did a search for, I don't know, that part of my config file that I might inspire somebody.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So this is the sort of network section, right? This is where you would change the port if you wanted to, the address family, which I think would be like IPv4, IPv6. And you can specify listening address or addresses for IPv4 or IPv6. Now, to be honest, I can't remember if this server has static IP. Oh, look, it looks like it's looks like we're using Network Manager or whatever, so it'll be easy to tell. IPv4, oh, it's automatic. So since it doesn't have a static IP, we could put in the one that it's using now, or I could say, I'm only going to connect locally, and I could put in 127.0.0.1, which is the local host, also called the loopback address, and then it would only accept requests from this host, right, from this computer. So if I wanted it to come from this loopback address, I'd have to say SSH payload at localhost, if I wanted to say I'm going to listen on this address, I'd have to say SSH payload or CDC or whatever my name is at payload. I'd have to name payload. Or I'd have to say at 10.0.2.15. I'd have to force it to go off that local host paradigm, right? And let's see. Even if I say the word payload, I'm going to get a 127 address. So it'll come off of my 127, my local host. Oh, this is the one where we messed with, I remember that. That's funny. So yeah, if I tell it to listen on 10.0.2.15, I'd actually have to say, please do SSH to 10.0.2.15. But we can demo that. We'll leave it listening on 127 for now, which is loopback. Have we talked about loopback? Josh, have we talked about loopback addresses? Do you know what they are?
Not quite, no.
Okay. So loopback address is always anything that starts 127 will always point back to your own computer. So ping should always be pretty fast. This is like 3% of a millisecond, so it's 35 microseconds on that first ping. So that's because it's just like, I don't even know if it goes to the network card, because software could be implemented that says, oh wait, I'm the loopback, I'm the loopback software stack for, and I know I can just talk back to the operating system without going to the hardware because this is local, right? So on every computer that has IP implemented, anything that has 127 dot something is local, and it shouldn't matter what the other numbers are. And you see they're still coming back ridiculously fast, right? So this can be used to implement some fast type, over TCP/IP, kind of like Linux also has sockets, that are also for programs to talk to other programs locally. They can be used for testing. So if you're developing something, you can go in a browser and say HTTPS localhost. Or you can do what we did here. You see this is a host file where you can hard code resolutions where you can say, hey, payload actually means 127.0.1.1. I think this was last year, although it might have been DNS for this year. I can't remember, where we told it that Disney.com and Google.com actually pointed to 127.0.1.2. And, at work, there are times when somebody who's developing for our domain control center, they'll have a host file entry that says DCC, domain control center.godaddy.com, points at, and it'll say like 127.1.2.3. So they can still go to their browser and type dcc.godaddy.com, but it'll go to their local server that's listening at that address. So, it's largely a developer-friendly thing. So, most 99 point some number of 9% of people in the world don't care, shouldn't have to care. But for us, we can use this to test things, even if the rest of the network's not there, right? So if I point this at 127.0.0.1, it'll just listen locally. And I see, where we are for time here. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to tell systemctl to restart SSHD. That was fast. And, I told it no passwords, didn't I? That's going to be problematic. So let's back this off a little. We'll get to our full config next week, right? Oh, I always do that. So I'm going to change this to yes for now, rather than create a cert. I could do it in the 2 minutes, 4 minutes we have left, but it would be pretty hard to explain at the same time. So with that config, and am I really a user named Palo on a server named Palo? Oh, sorry. Can I really type? Who am I? Palo. Okay. So the way you do this, if you need to, you type your username and then you say @ and then you give the host name. And if I do this, first thing it's going to do is say, hey, I've got this list of servers and their hashes of servers that we've connected to before, and we've never connected to this one. Are you? And the first time you do this, it's going to basically say, are you sure this is the right server? And if you are sure, you can save this hash. You can say yes and save it, fingerprint, but it's a hash. And notice there's that ED25519 again. But I'm going to say yes. I'm pretty sure this is me. I connected to 127. And then it asks for my password. And I am on, right? And the reason this works is that I'm allowing, I'm listening on this 127 address, right? So now I'm on. It would be way more interesting if this was connecting to a different box, but all of the mechanics are the same, right? So maybe it's easier to see that if I do the same thing from root and I say I want to log in as Palo, and this root hasn't seen this host before. So even though Palo saved this and said, yeah, let's trust that one forever, root has to say the same thing. And now root has to know Palo's password and is in, but now, even though we connect as root, that's the whole point. Now we're Palo. We could have logged in as any user. I just think those might be the only two that are on here. And I'm gonna exit that. Just being Palo as root feels funny. If I come back over here, remember we said that this is listening only on that 127 address, right? And we have a IP adder, not IP config. We have this 10 dot address, but we didn't say it could listen on that one. So let's just check that that's actually working. Oh, and in this terminal, I don't like this about this terminal. I have to actually copy it. And so I'm going to say SSH, and this time I'm going to explicitly say Palo at that address. Oh, I don't like this. So something's not right here. But this should have failed, okay? Based on what we put in SSHD config, unless I did something wrong. This is why you test things. Did I? Oh. I have to do this thing to ignore case. That's what I see is. There's the problem. It's commented out. There we go. Okay. Now let's try this again. I'm still logged in through SSH, so I'll get out of there. Now let's try this. There we go. Can't get to there. It's not listening on that port. If I go back to the 127, and I could use the specific IP address, right? I could do this. Authenticity of this host can't be established. That's interesting. Oh, because before I connected to Palo, literally, now I'm connecting to 127. It's very finicky about this, right? Because this 127.0.0.1 is a different name than Palo. So I'm going to tell it, no, I don't trust this. I'm going to Control C out of there. I'm going to go back to Palo just to show you guys that it won't bug me if I'm using the same name. Ooh, doesn't like Palo now. Oh, Palo has a different address. You see that? It's trying to connect to 127.0.1.1, which is a local host address, but it's not the local host address that we've allowed in. Yeah, it's tricky. Do I have any names in Etsy hosts that actually map directly? Sorry, that actually map directly to that one. Oh, just local host itself. That's fair. That's the one that kind of has to be at that address. So I can do this and we'll say, yeah, whatever. That's a really weird look to that screen. But now we're connecting to 127.0.0.1, which is the address we said was okay. Type in my password and that works. So all of that just to demonstrate that when you say that you only want it to listen on the one address, that's the one you get, right? So rep -I listen in SSH config. You know, that's the only one we said was okay to listen on. And it actually works if you uncomment the setting before you restart the service. So we'll pick up here next week. There should be some homework we can get out of this. It'll be easy to tell you exactly what to do if Ice Age is up. If it's not, it's easy to do this in VirtualBox. And we didn't even get to using WSL. Sorry about that, Josh. You're probably distracted the whole time. But I kind of decided that having you guys look stuff up on your own was probably a good use of time to get you guys thinking about this on your own. Have you ever installed VirtualBox, Josh? Or used it?
No, I have not.
Okay. How much can you stay on for a couple of minutes after the meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's do that. And we'll call the meeting here unless except for any comments you guys have. And Dan, I told him we'll probably have your talk next week unless you want to do it now.
Sounds
But
good.
yeah, okay. Yep. Cool. So any questions, folks?
Nope, not for now. See you next time.
I'm good.
Don't think so.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good week, folks.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
All right.
Have a
See
good week.
y'all later.
And sorry, I was late today.
Oh, no problem. I knew you've not been feeling well and everything. So I may give you some notice. Don't know if everybody left. Maybe everybody left. I hope to
Most
find
people
out.
left.
Yeah, we may have an actual place to meet next week. We'll see. I've lost.
Did you read
Now I want.
did
Yeah,
you
I
read my
did.
comment? You did? Okay.
Yeah,
All right. But you'd
but
rather
this
have a
is
place. Okay, that's cool.
well. Today's a pretty good example where we're depending on Ice Age and it wasn't available, and so now we can't see each other's computers, and
Right. Okay.
so we can't do SSH, and I didn't get out of the house. But I was gonna talk to you about that just to see if
No problem.
I'll talk to
I
you. I'll
mean,
talk to you about it.
yeah, the big question for me is if we're at somebody's house, I mean, nobody's house has as good a connection as, say, GoDaddy, you know? I mean,
Mine might.
oh, really? Okay. All
I've
right.
got gigabit. No, but
Okay.
the place. So I'm talking to Nuboco. That's down.
Okay.
It's right in the Nubo area, and they actually have their mission is kind of to support K-12 education for
Okay.
STEM technology, for STEM related things. And
Sure.
so I got in touch with them last week. I just haven't been over there to talk details with them, but they're certainly willing to
Okay.
help out. I told them that our needs are, Saturdays and later on, maybe evenings, and that didn't seem to
Right.
phase them. So
Okay.
so I'm going to go over and talk to them this week
Okay.
sometime, I
Do you
hope.
want me to be there as
So
well, or
we'll
do you want to
see.
do that solo? Did you hear me?
And I know the husband of the director. So that's just kind of fun.
Do you want me there as well as the other coach, or do you want to
Looking
go
for the
solo?
Zoom controls to stop the recording. Found them. All right.